Hello and welcome to Happy Horror Time. My name's Tim Murdoch.
And my name is Matt Emmert, and we're with you today to discuss a movie called... What if we just jumped right into it? No small talk. We're here to talk about some XXX stuff, Tim. What do you think of when I say XXS?
A room I can't go in.
What?
Like, at a video store, you can't go into it. XXX.
I think as a 47-year-old male, you're allowed to go in.
I don't want to go in there.
You're still having memories of the 80s as like a kid and not being able to go in.
And speaking of the 80s today, Matt, we're talking about MaXXXine.
Oh, yeah. That does take place. I was like, where's the tie-in? Well, before we even get into it, I know our last episode came out after July 4th, but we actually recorded it before because both of us were traveling, so we didn't get to talk about our travels. So
you went somewhere very exotic.
Michigan. Jacob and I went and visited one of my closest, bestest friends, Angela, who moved to Michigan last year with her family.
Was it Angela from Sleepaway Camp?
It was, and she was like, at the end, and then she had like a decapitated head, and she was naked.
Oh my God.
It was, and I was like, this is really weird, Angela, what are you doing?
You're like, life is imitating art, Angela.
Yeah, and I was like, wait, what's the line? Angela, why are you so fucked up? No, I say that's Angela. No, in fact,
in the water.
I used to make fun of Angela's name because of Who's the Boss? Angela, Samantha.
Oh, hey,
who's the boss? You know what I'm saying?
Tony Danza.
Hey, anyway, we went to see Angela's family. They're in Farmington Hills, Michigan. Their address is, no, just kidding. It was so nice. Like, they live in this beautiful, like, lush green area. And it's just, we had never been to Michigan, so we went to Detroit. Tim, have you been to Detroit?
I saw Detroit Rock City starring Edward Furlong.
But you're not that, because Ohio's not that far from Michigan.
I feel like I've gone through Michigan, sure.
But so we went into Detroit. We went to Detroit Institute of Art, which I had no idea. But Angela let me know that it's rated as the #1 art museum in the country. I was shocked because I was like,
these
wait.
Michigan people say anything to get you to an art museum.
I was like, wait, not the MoMA or the Getty, but she pulled up like some stats. She had the receipts.
Wow.
But she has this beautiful, adorable little girl named Kenzie who's almost 6. And anytime someone sings, especially me, she'd go,
Like she was a little Paula Abdul judging you?
She just does not like other people singing. And so I kept singing like songs from Frozen and she was like,
Wait, what's the song from Frozen?
Let it go, let it go.
That's right. That's a popular one.
Frozen 2, Into the Unknown.
I never
Tim,
saw.
did you like that?
I think I did see Frozen 2, but I did pass out.
You were you drunk during it?
No, I just was like...
So you went into the unknown.
I was unknown.
But it was a great trip, and we spent 4th of July with them. Where were you for 4th of July?
I went to Savannah, and my brothers live in a golf course.
Savannah, Georgia, for our non-American listeners.
Not the Savannah based on the Aaron Spelling show in 1996. Do you remember that?
What was that?
It was starred Robin
Models Inc.?
There was Models Inc., but Aaron Spelling had another one with, who was the girl that played Teen Witch? Who was
Melissa Joan Hart.
No, Teen Witch, the movie.
Robin Lively.
Yeah.
Oh, well, Sabrina is the Teen Witch.
You're right. I'll give you that. So it starred Robin Lively and I think Ray Wise from the Twin Peaks.
Oh.
Yeah, it was Savannah, and there was like a murder of some hot guy. Anyway,
wow.
That's not that wasn't my time.
So you went to Savannah, Georgia.
And my brothers were there, and my niece was there, and her girlfriend was there, and my other niece was there with her boyfriend. And no, it was a good time. I watched fireworks like on a golf course. It was beautiful.
Did you sing Katy Perry's Firework?
I was like, baby, you're a firework.
Come on, tell them what you want.
No, but here's the downside. So everything was great. I love being with my family.
But it was humid as fuck.
It was humid as fuck. And my arms, my legs, my face, my neck.
My back, like my...
Yep, all of that was eaten by most... But they don't have mosquitoes, but I was bitten by something.
Wait, they don't have mosquitoes.
I mean, I didn't see them.
Oh, I was like, you got mosquito bites.
I got mosquito bites, but I never saw the mosquito.
So
I don't know.
Okay, well, there still could have been mosquitoes. Sometimes you don't even see them. They're crafty little fuckers. Like sometimes there were mosquitoes in Michigan, but we had insect spray, which you needed. You got to spray that shit.
I did, but it didn't matter. I was that delicious.
Wait, you must have some sweet taste in blood.
Well, I read about it. Did you know only females bite? Only female mosquitoes bite. I might have shared this before, like last summer. I'm fascinated by that.
Did anyone else in your family get bit?
No.
So there's something special about your blood.
They wanted it.
It's that gay blood.
But
wait, there's plenty of gays in your family.
I read like it says like lazy people, so I felt lazy.
Wait, lazy people get bit more?
Yeah.
That may because if you're moving, I think that maybe if you're moving around a lot.
I was just laying there.
You just laying and being like, hey, mosquitoes.
I was like, fireworks.
and you do have a lot of gays in your family now. You, your brother, and your niece. I guess that's not a lot.
And they brought he got married to, so it was like couple, me. Oh, actually, I was the only person there that was single.
What?
Like my parents, everyone.
Your parents aren't in relationships?
Yeah, for like 50, 70 years.
How about, didn't you, Lori, your sister-in-law's mom?
Oh, she was there.
Okay, so
me and the 80-year-old.
You should have hooked up with her.
But she was pretty funny. She walked in, she was like, I was just watching 50 Shades of Grey.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hey, you know what? Like, women love those movies, and you.
And me.
Do gay men usually love those movies? I saw the first one. It was so bad.
I loved it. But only because I'm fascinated that it was made, because like Dakota Johnson is so... Okay,
Milk toast?
Yes. And you know what? This coincides with our movie. I thought Mia Goth was a little milk toast.
Oh my God. Did you hear that, listeners? Well, we'll jump into her. We should jump into actually, but before we do, I want to do, just because we don't always do this, but give a shout out to some stuff going on our Patreon right now. If you like this podcast and want some extra content, especially if you want to hear us talk about movies from the past, you can sign up to be a patron at patreon.com/happyhorrortime. We have tons of bonus content available for people. It's $5 a month, and we do 2 bonus episodes every month where we talk about like horror movies that fall under a theme, and you get to vote.
70s,
80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and that's about it. We have an after show every month where Tim and I get
Matt
real
gets sleazy.
I mean, if you didn't think I was sleazy before, I get sleazy.
I feel
Tim
like,
sometimes even takes off his pants.
Yeah, I'm just mainly to get comfortable.
Yeah. So we have the after show. You get all our episodes a day early and ad free. You can participate.
It's a party.
You can participate in our Discord, which is a chat just for patrons where we go on and we talk about what we're doing. Tim sends nudes, all the usual.
Oh, and people are like, please don't send nudes.
And they send them back. No, we can talk directly with patrons. It's a lot of fun. So if you're interested and you want to hear us talk about past movies and get all this cool content, check out our Patreon.
You said school content.
If you want school context, check out our Patreon. Okay, now we can go to MaXXXine,
directed by Ty West,
and this is the 3rd movie in the X trilogy. Now,
do you really
enough,
think it's over?
For now, I think it is. But it's like, remember when Scream 3 came out and they're like, it's done. We're about to have Scream 7.
Well, okay. Scream 3 came out in 2000 and then 2011.
Yeah, so I think it could be a break.
We're going to have a decade gap.
Probably, or something like that. But if you've seen X and Pearl, X was the story of all the people trying to make the porn movie, and then the old couple jealous of their youth, and they couldn't stand them flaunting around and killed all the people.
And it had that actress from the Pitch
Brittany Snow.
Let me get this. Pitch Perfect.
You were not pitch perfect in that delivery. Let me tell you.
I couldn't get it out.
You couldn't get it
out.
out.
That's what she said.
So, that sounds uncomfortable. And at the end of X, Maxine, Mia Goth's character, is the only survivor of this like massacre. Then we got Pearl later that year, which was a prequel that took us through the life of the old woman who was the killer in X and how she was murderous at a young age. And the common theme of these movies is Mia Goth always wants to be famous. She just always wants to be famous.
I'm a star!
As Maxine, she wants to be a popular porn star and wants to be a big actress. As Pearl, she just wanted to be famous, and Pearl never made it. But both movies, great. We've reviewed them on the podcast. If you go back to our earlier episodes, because they both came out in 2022.
You know what's crazy? I don't remember one thing I said about either one of those films.
I don't remember anything I said. I just know, because I feel this way, that I did like X more than Pearl. A lot of people, I remember when Pearl came out, were like, oh my God, it's the greatest, it's the greatest. I liked it, but I liked X a lot more. To me, it was more like a slasher horror movie. It had the creepy atmosphere. It had the killer. It had the people, going around the dark.
A guy walking around in his tidy whitey.
There was a lot of nudity, male and female. I mean, they're filming a porn.
Right.
But I think that a lot of people get the wrong idea of X because they're like, oh, people making a porn, it's got to be dirty. No, that's just like the subplot. The main plot is not about the porn. That's just like what brought them there.
What brings people together?
Porn movies. But like, look, people do shoot porn, but a lot of great cast in X. But I liked X better than Pearl. Pearl was good. It just seemed it was a little hokey, but they purposely wanted it to be like
I thought
that way.
that guy that she killed. Spoiler alert: she does kill like the cute guy that worked at the
projection.
Yeah, I liked that.
Yeah, that was sad because she killed him with the pitchfork.
That
remember?
was brutal.
And then she killed her sister-in-law. Remember, because she got the part at the dance thing, and she like followed her and axed her to death. It was rough.
She chased her, right?
Chased her.
I remember that.
Yeah, Pearl is definitely the worst of the worst. Maxine,
it's not bad.
Well, no, sorry, no, not the movie, the character.
Oh, okay,
no, I
okay.
liked Pearl. No, not the movie. Pearl. I mean, the character of Pearl was a murderer, really awful. But Mia Goth's performance in Pearl was incredible.
I agree. That monologue at the end.
Oh my
I remember
God.
that.
And remember when she's doing the dance with the
Scarecrow,
and then she like dry humps it, and she's like, "Oh."
Do you think Saltburn stole that?
No, because there was no cum water in Salt in Maxine.
No,
Well,
remember in Salt?
Oh, when he dry humps the grave.
I mean, like in his shows.
Oh, I was like, are you talking
butt.
about the bathwater?
No.
I
think people forget because the bathwater was so controversial.
Yeah.
They forget about the humping of a grave.
When he's humping the mud in the grave.
Gross.
Yes. No, because the Scarecrow, well, even if they took it, they didn't do it as well as Pearl. It was just, she's dancing with the Scarecrow, and then suddenly she's like pretending to have sex with it.
Did you watch it recently?
We watched, whoa.
Go on.
We rewatched, say that 5 times fast.
I can't.
We rewatched X the night before you and I went and saw Maxine, and then we watched Pearl also. So the day of. So yeah, we just kind of wanted to brush up, and we liked the movie. So I'm talking about we as in Jacob and I.
Right.
But Maxine was being advertised as the end of the trilogy, but it's really a sequel to X. I mean, I get it; it's a trilogy, but Pearl.
And they showed little glimpses. They showed little flashbacks throughout.
Of Maxine.
Yeah.
Of X, yeah. So Maxine takes us to, well, let's talk about the opening scene, because the very opening scene of Maxine.
Wait, before you start what it is about, I do want to say this trailer is my favorite trailer ever for Maxine. I love this trailer.
Because you love the 80s music, the style.
I'm a big 80s fan, so I was so excited to see this film. And I mean, I know I'm not wrapping it up, but I will say, I wanted it to be the trailer.
Well, it's hard because the trailer was glitz, glamour, and 80s music, and like that, that's tough to keep for an entire movie. But I think they captured the 80s vibe of LA. I don't know for sure because I was around in the 80s. What am I saying? So the opening scene of this movie, it says 1959, and we're watching a home video of Maxine when she's a kid, and she's like performing for her dad, who, if you remember from X, he was like the evangelist, the priest who's like saying that his daughter has been missing and led to a life of sin. We got that in X, but this is a home video of her, and she says her famous line as a kid, which is, "I will not accept a life I do not deserve." What do you think of that line, Tim?
I love it. And I live by it.
Tim, will you not accept a life you do not deserve?
That's right. I mean business.
What kind of life do you deserve?
One where I can sit around and watch Love Island all day.
And get eaten by mosquitoes. I mean, it's a good... Here's the thing with that quote. It is a good, like, don't stand for shit, like, follow your dreams.
But you know what? With a opening like that, I was thinking that Mia Goth was going to come across like Bridget Fonda in Point of No Return. I thought she was going to be a big badass. I didn't get that Mia Goth.
I thought she was a badass. I just think that when you have a quote like that and you have some crazy characters, I was like, how far do you take it? Like, meaning if I told you I will not accept this, like, what if it's the law? Like, do I start breaking the law? Breaking the law. Breaking the law. But I mean, it's just a weird quote because it's inspirational, but it also can go too far. Does that make sense?
No, there is I agree with the message. I don't think in every situation it comes into play.
Like, I will not accept. Well, sometimes you do, like, meaning, for instance, say you audition and you don't get the part. You can't say, I will not accept.
Right. Like that's the tough part about being an actor is like you have zero control. Like if you walk in and look like, the casting director's cousin that they hated, that's out of your hands.
Yeah. But I guess it's, I will not accept a life I do not deserve, meaning like you got to make the best of your life. It's up to you. Like, and I do do agree with that. Like a lot of people will say, oh, life sucks. This, blah, 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 blah. And you're thinking like, have you tried to change your life? Like you got to do that. But
That's
anyway.
true. I mean, you have to shift the way you think.
I like how now we're an inspirational.
Well, yeah, you really do. Like if you put out into the world like, oh God, this is a horrible situation, then it will be a horrible situation. But
exactly.
if you're like, oh my God, this situation I can turn around, it's all positive.
Or
thinking.
I'm going to do everything I can to fulfill this dream or to pursue this career.
Right.
And
so when life gives you lemons, Matt,
you make orange juice.
No, you messed that up, you dumb.
So we then switch to the 80s and we get Maxine going into an audition and she goes into, it looks like a bunker?
Okay.
Oh,
so
here we go. I knew you were going to bring this up. Go.
As my security background, that was stage 16, I think, where they filmed Goonies. And so it's like where they had so it's really interesting that they picked the biggest sound stage to film that scene, which is fine.
It's a tiny audition scene. She's being seen by like 4 people, a director and some producers. And they basically are talking to her. They're like, okay, so you have a background in adult film and, she's trying out for a horror movie. And they're kind of not really taking her seriously because she's a porn star. But then she does an audition. And I will say her audition was really good.
As someone who watches a ridiculous amount of soaps, like her tears were spot on.
And what's funny is she's auditioning for a horror movie called The Puritan Part 2, not the original. And she did the audition really well. And you can tell she's kind of wowed the people. But the best part is when she walks out of the audition in true, because if you remember X, Maxine, how do I say this? She's not like the classiest of people.
Like she's no nonsense.
No nonsense, blunt, doesn't give a shit what people think. She walks by all the other girls in line. She's like, you guys all better fucking leave because I fucking nailed that.
You can all go home.
It was really funny. And so we kind of get a look into her life and she's still, she's working at a strip club. She also works in a peep show place
which
where
is interesting. It's only a quarter.
I always thought that was funny, and I've never been
how
to
do you
one.
make money?
You must get a wage, like a normal like hourly wage, and then maybe you make the I don't. It's just basically where men or women, I guess,
it was in a Madonna video.
Oh yes. Not True Blue.
Open your heart to me?
Open your heart or get in the groove. You put quarters in and you can see like them dance and they start to strip and you have to keep putting quarters in. But we do get a quick glimpse of her dancing in a peep show thing, and you see someone in all leather watching.
There's a lot of leather glove action.
Yes, and he has leather gloves on, and he looks really angry to the point that he like rips off the what was it? Like
it was like a countertop or
something. This person was not happy with her, but as a weird misdirect, during this whole movie, they keep talking about how this is taking place while the Night Stalker murders were happening.
We watched the Night Stalker,
the documentary, and I've said this on the podcast, so I apologize for people who've heard it, but I was a little kid, and I grew up during that. I was
1985.
I was 5 years old. And I remember some of my first memories were living in, this is before I moved to Rancho Cucamonga. It was in Duarte, California. And I remember my parents were always like, we have to lock the door. We got to keep that porch light on because so the Night Stalker doesn't stop. Like, I remember that being
just
in people's...
Just the fact that your parents were using the word Night Stalker in front of you.
Well, I mean, because they wanted me to be responsible because there was a murderer loose in LA. So all of this footage and these news broadcasts they're showing, that was real. Like, the Night Stalker was real. And so, but they're making us think that this is the murderer that is out there. And so we do meet 2 of Maxine's friends. One is played by the singer Halsey. Do you know her?
I do not. I mean, I wish I did because I would want to be hip.
She invites Maxine to this like party in the Hollywood Hills. Tons of rich people.
Before they have that conversation, she walks past her as she's working doing a porn, right?
Oh, yeah. And she's like, hey, Maxine. And she's getting fucked by a guy. Yeah.
It was so graphic.
It was funny. I mean, but compared to X, not
True.
as good. But yeah, so her friends are either porn stars or the peep show dancers. But this girl, she's like, I'm going to a party in the Hollywood Hills.
She's like, I'm going to meet a rich
people.
husband and do this is before plastic surgery is like so every day.
Mm-hmm.
But she's like, I'm going to meet a rich husband and get some plastic surgery.
I know. I love that's the big thing, like the big dream. But she goes there and we do get, and Maxine says no, she's going to go home. And we do get a glimpse of what happens to her 2 friends because they show a weird shot of someone videotaping. These women are tied up and blindfolded. and then somebody brands them with a pentagram on their faces.
Yeah, it's a Satan symbol, right?
Yeah. And it's like, I forget in the videotape if they said, like, are you going to accept God or something? The girls are like crying and they brand them.
I thought that scene was going to be much worse than it was. I'm glad they didn't go down that road, and it was
me too. I didn't want to see them torture, because then you find out the next day they were both murdered because two detectives played by Bobby Cannavale and Michelle Monaghan find their bodies.
Which I really think Michelle Monaghan was an interesting choice, just because she was very mainstream in like 2005, and then like she still works very consistently.
I think she looks great, though.
She does look great. I just thought it was an interesting choice.
I thought they were both really good as the detectives. They just seemed like no nonsense detectives.
Yeah, no,
you know?
I actually thought they had very good chemistry, and I liked the fact that whenever she spoke to Mia Goth, like she was not condescending to her.
No, because the Bobby Cannavale guy,
he was
more like, it was like good cop, bad cop. He was like the bad cop, she was good cop. But there's one scene we can't skip over that happened the same night that her two friends get murdered. She is walking home alone.
Oh my God.
This is a big scene.
Now before you go any further, I thought this particular scene would be in the film later. It really doesn't progress the story.
No, it's like a separate thing. It's almost like a subplot, because she's walking home. Remember, she just talked with her friends. All these broadcasts about the Night Stalker on, so you think, and remember, you saw this leather-clad person come to her peep show, so you think someone's out to get her. So Maxine's walking home on the like most empty path through alleys. Come on.
And it's so crazy because like you hear a report, they saying like, don't do this, don't do that.
There's a killer out there. And Maxine, she's so confident, bordering on arrogance, that I think she just thinks, she even says she can take care of herself. Like nothing bothers her. But she's walking down alleys. Dark alley. And what do you know? She can't get out of the alley because the gate is locked. And then this mime, guy dressed as a mime.
He wasn't full-blown mime, but he was kind of dressed like Charlie Chaplin, but he didn't commit with like the makeup.
And this was such a weird random plot device, because his background, did we get anything?
Nothing.
It went nowhere.
That's the thing. Like the movie was like
a lot of stories put together.
I don't mind a lot of story. That's fine. But a lot of
disparate stories, meaning they didn't always connect.
I thought it wasn't like Pulp Fiction, like everything kind of came together.
Yeah, no.
This was just a standalone
It was a scene for a scene. He comes up, he approaches her, and he pulls out a knife. No reason. Don't know why. Don't know what he wants other than to terrorize her. And he thinks he has the upper hand. Then she pulls out a gun.
Yeah, and she says, suck it.
Well, she says, drop the knife. Then she makes him strip naked. And we do see a little bit of guy, but they film it from the top. It's an interesting angle. It's almost like a drone look. And she says, get on the ground. Then she makes him suck the gun. And he's like sucking it like he's sucking dick.
It was a little uncomfortable. I mean, like, I'm glad I didn't see it with my parents.
I was worried because I was like, if she just kills this guy, then she's a murderer. Like, I mean, I know
like, we're supposed to be a cheerleader for Maxine.
I think so, but she's almost like an anti-hero. Like, you like her, but she's not always so good. But
you know what? He had a knife. Like, who knows what he was going to do to her.
It could have been self-defense. But then, before she leaves, she doesn't shoot him, but she decides...
This is awful.
And I forget what she says to him. What does she say to him?
I'd have to rewatch it.
Oh, I can't remember. She had a good line to him, but she proceeds to stomp on his ball sack, and you see it, and it like rips open. And every man in that theater, or at least me, I grabbed my balls and it was so uncomfortable because you could feel that pain.
Yeah, like I just flew in from Savannah, so I was on a different time zone.
Oh,
so I was a little sleepy, but that woke me up.
I have seen, some scenes that have made me like, this is one of the most, I felt so uncomfortable, but in a way that it was effective because, again, she stomps on the ball sack, and I think she like either ripped it off or pulled it open.
And here's the thing, that guy, this whole situation never brought up again.
He doesn't come after her again.
I don't know, can you live through that?
Yeah, of course. You can
What do you mean, of course?
Well, what I mean is people who are castrated. I think he would need medical attention pretty quickly.
Very quickly.
Who knows if he'll ever be able to have kids? Who knows if he'll be castrated for good? But like, it was so effective. But she just kind of, and I think were there some claps in the theater because that's why earlier when you said she wasn't a badass, I was like, I think she was kind of a badass.
This scene, yes, but I guess throughout, like I guess I wanted her to have something more. Like the rest of the film, I don't want to say sleepwalks, but we don't really get inside of her mind.
We do see her scared and traumatized a lot, but not so much like the ball sack scene. Like there's not a lot of scenes like that. I get that.
She's not always like roughing people up. Like
no. Like, but she is scared sometimes.
I guess I was expecting
her to be Linda Hamilton.
No, not Linda Hamilton. But remember how erratic Elizabeth Berkley was in Showgirls? Remember, she's like, "Where are you?" She's like, "Different places." Oh, like remember, everything was like. I thought her performance was going to be like that.
But I think she did that in Pearl. Like her performance in Pearl is so erratic and over the top that it's almost like
that.
But she was playing a different character. You know? But anyway, so we then get to, by the way, she gets the part in the horror movie. She's really excited. She thinks it's going to be like her breakover part. And she has this gay best friend who works at a video store. And look, in the 80s, everybody wanted to work in a video store.
They had a full-blown conversations like which stars did horror films.
Yeah, which stars got their start in horror films. It was Jamie Lee Curtis, John Travolta,
and then Brooke Shields.
She said, what was Brooke Shields' horror movie?
She did that one, Alice, Sweet Alice.
Oh, yes. Oh, my God.
Oh, and then they were talking about her nudity. She did another film where she was like a child prostitute.
I was thinking they meant Blue Lagoon because she was kind of naked in that.
Right,
Brooke Shields.
but that was later. I mean, she was not that old, but still, it was very exploitative of a young girl at that age.
Well, so he's trying to say, yeah, but none of them started in porn, and she's like, yeah, but they've done nude scenes and stuff. So Maxine wants to be a big star. She doesn't just want to be a porn star. But anyway. We have a scene where a stranger, the person in leather, delivers a videotape to her place. And the videotape is marked evidence. And when she puts it in her VCR, she sees scenes from the porn she was filming in X. And she realizes that someone knows what happened in Texas.
Do you know the time gap between X and
I think
85?
X was 1979 and this is 85, so 6 years later.
Oh, okay.
Also, so I think it was 6 years. But what we find out is that whatever happened after X, they never found out that Maxine was part of it. Meaning, like, we see news reports that there was they called it the Texas Porn Star Massacre, but we don't know that she was ever there, that she was the one who ended up killing the two old people. She just escaped and got away. But then we're introduced to Kevin Bacon's sleazy character.
Yes, he's hired by, we won't reveal that yet.
Yeah,
but
Kevin Bacon is hired by the person in leather. We can just say that. And he is following Mia Goth, and he basically gives her a note that says, meet me like in this...
Weston Bonaventure?
Oh, yes. I'm still glad you remember that.
No, the reason I know the Weston Bonaventure is because when I first moved here in 2001, I did an acting showcase at that hotel.
Really?
Yeah, that's how I got my first agent.
That's funny.
And I had to go to a hotel room. Just kidding. No.
And were you blackmailed about your part in the Texas Porn Star Massacre?
Yeah, but I don't ever want to talk about it.
Okay, of course. So she goes to meet Kevin Bacon. He's a private dick, so he calls it. And he plays... I will say he was a little cliche, like sleazy detective.
It was interesting that they dressed him like in a Southern suit.
Well, he came from Texas.
Oh, okay.
He was following her. He had come from Texas, I think, because he had been hunting her down. He said he tells her that whoever he was hired by wanted to find her, and he doesn't say who, and that, it's because they know that she was a part of this massacre and that she probably was involved. He knows that she probably killed the two old people. Now, you'd get off for that because they were killing everyone.
Well, it was cool that, like, I was looking at this movie, like, I'm always looking for a Friday the 13th connection, and he is a big walking, talking Friday the 13th connection. Yeah. So, I was talking to my friend Dean, he's on the right side of history, picking Friday the 13th over
Bacon.
Halloween.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I don't think so.
No, he is.
When Kevin Bacon returns to Friday the 13th, like Jamie Lee Curtis did the Halloween 40 years later, then we can talk.
Actually, I think today is his 66th birthday, and I think I saw on X, not the movie X, but on Twitter, he had like a shirtless photo and he said, "This is 66."
No way. And by the way, today, as in the day we're recording this, not the day you're going to hear this, but I mean, I'm glad that he's embracing it now. But and look, to be in this movie was great and it was good.
But the other Friday 13 connection was they always look at this Fangoria magazine and it is the cover of the 1985 A New Beginning, and they have like the axe.
That's so funny.
But I really looked at that.
I caught Fangoria that he's looking, but I didn't see what was on the magazine.
I remember that magazine.
That's so funny. So he tells Maxine that, he knows about this, and now she wants none of this she just got a part in a horror movie. She doesn't want anything to follow her. She didn't even want
to talk to him. She's like, I'm over this.
But he basically leaves her package and says, you need to come to this address in the hills or there will be repercussions. And what does she do? Ignore it. And the funny thing is that one night, and I thought this was kind of shitty and another random thing, her best friend, the gay videotape guy, he gets visited by the man in leather and murdered really brutally.
It was awful. Like they cut his eyeball. They
sliced the back of his throat.
It was such a long, gross
blood
scene.
goes all over the video cassette,
which is a cool thing on the on the trailer.
They made it good, yeah. But it's almost like, okay, whoever this killer is, who we don't know, and they're making us think it's the Night Stalker, but it's not, is killing anybody somewhat close to Maxine or related in some sort of dirty industry.
Girls, the porn star actress asked her to go to this party, and then her peep show friend asked her to go to the party, and then
they were killed. And then, but you didn't know the connection to her friend at the video store yet until the end, which we'll tell later. But so he gets killed, and when Mia Goth finds out, this is the first time you see Maxine look legitimately upset. Like it almost looks like nothing affects her, but she looks upset, and the two detectives want to talk to her, and she's being really unhelpful. Like she's so unhelpful, and I'm just like, girl, your friends were killed.
And they were very nice cops. They're like, listen, we don't care if you're a hooker, we don't care if you're doing drugs.
Yeah,
we're literally we're homicide.
We're homicide. And yes, the Bobby Cannavale, the male detective, is more of an asshole, but Michelle Monaghan is trying to be to bond with her and say look, all I want to do is prevent another person from being killed. Can you help me? And she will not help. And they're like, it is not a coincidence that you knew all these victims right before.
Yeah, I think for some reason at this particular scene, the Mia Goth, there's this, I want to say she's a lesbian director. I don't know. I don't think she is.
Oh, I didn't get that vibe.
Well, I just thought because, I don't know. I always think
because she has short hair, Tim.
No, I always think a strong woman is a lesbian.
That's hilarious and so awful. But she was ahead of her time. So by the way, the director of The Puritan 2 is a very strong-willed woman,
right. And
who is a no bullshit type of person.
And I thought it was great casting. I don't know who that actress was, but it could have been played by Sharon Stone.
Elizabeth Debicki.
She was great.
She was great, and we do get some scenes.
She's so into Mia Goth. She's like, listen, I'm putting my neck out for you, and you're a porn star. You have a major motion picture.
Well, we do get some scenes where she calls Maxine down to the Universal lot, which I know you recognize. She takes her kind of on a tour, and she's talking to her about how, yes, she got this part, but she had to stick her neck out for her because, she was a porn star. The producers didn't want it, but she said she gets this part. She's going to do great. But what Tim and I both notice is she's saying all these things, complimenting her, Mia Goth is so tuned out.
That's what I'm saying.
Not Mia Goth, sorry, the character, Maxine.
Right. Maxine, I don't know if it was written or the way she played it, still unclear to me. But here, Cavalli and Monaghan, I like to call people I'm on a baseball team.
Yo, Cavalli, Monaghan, get over here.
And the woman director, they're pouring these huge monologues onto her, and she's just it was a little. I'm like, why is she not?
If I were this director, so they always talk about that this director, the Puritan 2, is no nonsense. If you mess up, she'll fire you. I was just thinking, why isn't she saying, Maxine, where are you right now?
Yeah,
you are not taking this seriously.
Where's the lady that gave this wonderful audition?
But I will say the reason why she's a little distracted, we get a scene, and for anybody who loves Psycho, which is almost every horror lover, you'll love this because they visit the Bates Motel on the Universal lot. And as Maxine is walking up the stairs to look at the big house on the hill, she sees old Pearl from X, looking at her in the window. Of course, she's not really there. She's not really there, but Mia Goth is being haunted by what happened to her because, if you went through an event like that, you'd be haunted by it.
And there's also, she was doing a makeup test and they poured this goop all over her face.
Well, they were making a head cast of her.
Which is very Friday
Which,
13th.
by the way, did you notice that, you didn't watch Yellow Jackets. The girl that was doing the head cast of her is played by Sophie Thatcher, who's one of the main girls on Yellow Jackets. She was also the main girl in The Boogeyman. Remember the movie that wasn't so good at the beginning of the year?
Not great.
Exactly. But all I was thinking was Sophie Thatcher's already had like a lead role in a horror movie. Why she's taking the role of head cast maker
because
in
this movie's so cool.
It is so cool. All I'm thinking is maybe she loves Ty West and she's like, I'll do any part. But it's just so funny because she's like a lead in Yellow Jackets, was a lead in Boogeyman, then she takes head cast girl.
Well, who knows when Maxine was even filmed? I almost said
You're
Magazine.
Right. Noxema. When was Noxema filmed?
The Magazine was filmed.
So we have Maxine looking at, she's getting a head cast. And, when you get a head cast, you have all that goop all over your face.
She said, usually they stick like a straw in your mouth, or like she could breathe through your nose. So she's like 10 minutes. And I was like, are her nostrils open?
I know. She looked like it was very suffocating. But while she's in this goop, she starts flashing back to scenes from X where the old woman, remember when she crept into bed with her and started touching her? And she starts having a full-fledged panic attack. Of course, the headcast girl runs in late.
Again, that scene went nowhere to me. I don't know.
Again, I think they were just trying to show she's still haunted by what happened in the first movie. Don't forget what happened in X.
I guess.
But you're right. It didn't go anywhere because then suddenly she wasn't haunted. Like at the end, she was over it. So it was, there were weird parts that didn't always connect, you know?
It was a cohesive film.
Yeah.
But I just wanted it to be as put together as Pearl and X.
Well, they were much simpler plots. There weren't so many characters, as we talk about this all the time, so many little storylines and things trying to be connected. But
also I was overdosing on nostalgia because I lived the 80s. So I mean,
but not in LA.
Not in LA. Not like I was an actress trying to work in.
You were.
I mean,
you did peep show dancing,
right? Oh, by the way, this is a little off the subject.
Yes, I've done peep show dancing.
Right, you are so good. This is off subject of everything. We're gonna just dip out for 1 second.
Okay.
But how the movie was called The Puritan.
Yeah,
and then there was The Puritan 2.
Yeah.
For some reason through the whole movie, I was thinking of this is kind of like today when they made The Boy and The Boy 2 with Katie Holmes. I don't know why.
Because there was a different actress that took over?
I was just kind of not...
I mean, there's a ton of horror movies where the sequel they have a different one, but I know it's the something.
The simplicity of the two films. I was like, because I'm not saying Katie Holmes from The Creek was a porn star. I'm just saying I don't know, The Boy 2 would have been her first choice. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
I don't know.
Right.
I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying. Well, actually, I can take it back into the movie because while Maxine is barely paying attention to her director, the director wants her to meet the star of The Puritan Part 1. And this actress, is filming a flashback scene in Part 2, and she tells Maxine, look, just pay attention and listen to what the director says because she'll make your career. She helped me out. And she's saying all this stuff. And then she says, oh, by the way, I'm going to this party in the Hollywood Hills later. Do you want to come? And Mia Goth's like, no. And you'll find out later that everyone who seems to go to this party in the Hollywood Hills gets killed.
This was such a turning point for me. I was like, oh, okay, this is kind of cohesive. And she's literally
everyone who goes to the Hills is getting killed.
They had some really funny dialogue between the two women. And she made this face. She's like, this is my screaming face. So all that was really cute and fun. And then I was like, okay, this is where
she's obviously going to get it.
Has to step up and save her.
So finally, Maxine later, after dealing with being haunted, there's one thing she has to take care of first. The Kevin Bacon character is not happy that she didn't go to that address in the hills.
Okay.
So first, there's this big chase scene while they're on the Universal set, and it is kind of fun because Maxine runs and hides in the Psycho house. So that was a cool use of it.
And then the security guard, I know,
oh, you mean Tim?
Yeah, I was the security guard.
But he had to catch someone and escort them out. Did you ever do that?
I didn't do shit.
You check people into things.
I check people into things. And
I want to see you catching someone running around the lot.
I don't know if I'm giving away secrets, but I don't think anyone cares. We used to have a book at Warner Brothers and it was called 5150s. And it was people that would stalk stars. And do you know who the number one who was stalked the most on the lot?
Who?
The Olsen twins.
Wait, they were stalked.
Right,
not they were the stalkers.
No. Yeah, the Olsen twins were running around
always stalking
They're like,
people.
where's Bob Saget?
They were the one. Well, that's from what time? No, but that was 2005.
No, I'm saying in the history of Warner Brothers.
Oh, in the history. Oh my God.
People just driving up were like, we want to see the twins.
That's scary.
That's
I
gross.
guess because they had appeal from all ages, but ew.
I know. The 5150s, which means you're nuts, would
always going after the Olsen twins. Good to know. That is a fun fact.
I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about that.
I'm sure they're fine with it.
They listen to this podcast.
So we we get this great chase scene. They finally get Kevin Bacon and, get rid of him. Mia Goth is legitimately scared. He keeps following her. But finally, she talks to her agent and she makes a plan with him to lure Kevin Bacon into this club. And then when she runs out of the club, like her and her agent and like her agent's bodyguard kidnap him. And they put him in a car
Handcuffed.
in a junkyard where under one of those things in the junkyard that smashes the car to like a tiny square.
Right. And the blood goes over. But before that, she also she's driving off the lot after their little run chase around the lot. Mm-hmm. And she takes her keys.
Oh, when she punches him.
She punches him like 10 times in the face.
Yes, she does say like, leave me alone, and punches him with keys. It's very violent.
And by the way,
you punched someone with keys.
No, it's filmed on my new street. I just moved.
Yes, that is news. We didn't even talk about that. Tim is moving into his new studio apartment in Burbank.
I could see my new street name during the punching of Kevin Bacon.
Tim is moving. No more roommate. Tim's going to be all on his own. He's going to be closer to where Jacob and I live, closer to the valley, or in the valley.
Yeah,
and
closer to Maxine's movie studio.
Closer to Maxine's filming locations.
Right. I just walk outside my door. I was like, oh, this is where Kevin Bacon was pushed.
We got to talk about the Kevin Bacon scene, though, because, well, first off, was there any part of you that felt a little bad for him? I don't know why.
His teeth.
No, because I get it that he was a sleazy guy and he was hunting after her, but I guess I didn't know that they needed to kill him. I guess he would have never let go.
They probably thought he was the bad guy.
I think so, because when this thing crushes him, he's like begging for it not to crush him, and it crushes him and blood goes everywhere.
I actually thought it was going to be worse.
2 dogs go and lick up all the brains and guts.
That was nasty.
Yeah, that was nasty. But it's like he just gets it really bad. And again, he's not a likable character, but I don't know. Maybe I was just feeling too sentimental. I was like, do they have to kill him? I don't know.
I know. He already got killed at Camp Crystal Lake.
Yes. I mean, killed in Friday the 13th, killed in Maxine. And what's to live for?
I don't know. He couldn't even dance at prom.
And he gets killed in Wild Things. He gets killed in Hollow Man.
But he also shows his dong in Wild Things.
His dong.
His dong.
And he dances Footloose.
Everybody cut Footloose. Cut loose. Cut Footloose.
Anyway, so now we get to the big finale because finally Maxine realizes, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be selfish.
And by the way, she always makes time to do cocaine.
Oh, tons of cocaine. But she finally...
How am I supposed to root for her?
She finally realizes that, you know what, maybe I should go to this address in the Hollywood Hills because everyone that goes there gets killed, and maybe she can do something about it.
Save someone.
Yeah. So she goes up there, and the big reveal is that the killer in leather... Oh, yeah, before she finds out who the killer is.
There's a suitcase. She walks up this round staircase.
Spiral staircase.
With these huge heels, which is always... great to escape with high heels. And there's a suitcase drop. And inside this suitcase was the Star of the Puritan in it was like her arm, her leg, and her face.
All her body parts of this star were inside a suitcase, and the head was in the form of the scream face. Remember? Of her screaming.
And then she goes up to the theater, and then the black and white film is playing, right?
Of her porn? Or
no.
Her as the little girl,
yeah.
Yes. So she finds out, big reveal, which really wasn't that hard to figure out because of the opening scene, that the killer is her evangelist dad, who has been looking for her and is very religious and against anything in Hollywood because it's sin and it's Satan.
I actually thought that. I didn't mind that it was her dad. I mean,
it's not that it didn't make sense. It just wasn't like a big twist. Like, obviously, at the end of X, he's looking for her because of the broadcast, and they started the movie with it. This is what I will say. I was waiting for, I thought the killer was going to be someone related to X. I was like, did anybody survive that we didn't see die?
Jenna Ortega?
Not Jenna Ortega, maybe like the guy from The
Brittany
Ring.
Snow?
No, she was eaten by a crocodile. Like we saw that. But the guy who got the pitchfork in his head, like maybe he survived. I didn't know. Or someone maybe survived.
That's actually really cool.
I thought maybe someone related to X because they were, using what happened in X against her and were unhappy that she pretended like she had nothing to do with it. So I just thought, okay, yes, the dad being the killer made sense, but here's where it really lost it for me. The acting of the dad.
Oh, I could not agree with you more.
He starts giving her a monologue about why he's coming after her, and he says that she always wants to be a star, but now he's going to make her a star of his movie, but he says it. there's one part when he says, "You've wanted to be the star," and he does like jazz hands, and I laughed in the theater because it was so over the top. Do you remember that?
Yes, and it didn't work for me because, like, I mean, what if like the twist was like it was Bobby Cannavale or whatever his name is, or I mispronounced that so bad.
You know what it reminded me of? What's his name? Dermot Mulroney in Scream 6 when he
over the top
when he reveals he's one of the killers, and his performance is so over the top it's laughable.
Like, I understand the whole, like, MaXXXine, it's 1985, it's like the movie's fun, it's bright colors. I get that
performance was not. It was too much.
Right. Like, I mean, when you have a movie...
Didn't match Mia's, which was straight. Like, it was good.
Right. When you have a movie, I guess, where a woman stomps on a man's naked balls, like, I guess this is fitting.
I guess, but yes, you're right. It's an over-the-top movie, but Mia Goth's performance isn't over-the-top in this. So when her dad is talking to her, and obviously he's crazy, and he's saying, like, he's been hunting down anybody that's living a life of sin. And I guess we find out that the gay roommate from the beginning, I think that he has a line where he says, "I don't do that stuff anymore."
So you kind of think, was that?
He must have been maybe an escort or doing something like that. So the dad had been videotaping all these people that are involved in the sex industry and asking if they would like turn to God, and if they didn't, he'd murder them, which doesn't that defeat the purpose of religion? I don't even want to get into that.
No, I know.
Like, it's just funny that a religious guy's killing people.
And it also reminded me of Scream 3. Like, they're in this big guy's house, and like,
he's making his own movie,
right? Like what stabs back in
stabs back in production or session or something. So he knocks Mia Goth out, and she wakes up. And then, talk about theatrical, she's tied to a tree.
A palm tree.
And there are all of these, like, people that are part of his religious cult. And he is filming. And he said, "Now you're going to be a star of my real life exorcism."
And here's the problem with all of this. We didn't get to have this scene where Mia Goth is like, "Daddy," or like, "What are you doing?
Saying, what are you doing? Like, you're crazy." She barely got to respond. They don't really talk much.
It just didn't work.
And he's saying that he's going to do an exorcism on film to get, like, the evil out of her, but he's also trying to make his own film, and he's joking with her that, like, now you're gonna be the star of it. But then he has fire, and it's like he's about to set the tree on fire, but then the two FBI agents come in and start shooting everyone.
It suddenly becomes like a shoot 'em up.
It totally became like the Wild West, and all the religious cult people have guns, and they're shooting back, and there's a big shootout, and they kill all the cult people, and then the two FBI guys go after the dad
above the Hollywood sign.
They all run to the Hollywood sign. First, Bobby Cannavale gets shot.
And I kind of like earlier in the movie, he said, like, "I wanted to be an actor," and he's like, "I guess I won't be." And I was like, okay, that's kind of a full circle moment.
He's like, I wanted to be an actor. I'm like, you're really talking about that now as you're dying?
I know,
he's saying
like,
that to Maxine. Then I was a little sad at this. Poor Michelle Monaghan. She runs to Maxine. She's like, I got him. But she has a crucifix in her eye.
And then she like falls down the hill. And we never see her again.
I mean, she was probably about to die, because if you get a crucifix through your eye into your brain.
You could, if there's a movie in 10 years, she can come back and have like a patch.
I mean, I guess, yeah, if it didn't hit her brain, and if she didn't tumble all the way down the Hollywood side. So Mia Goth realizes, like, she needs to go and finish off her dad. So her dad has been shot, and he's right next to the Hollywood sign, and it's really theatrical. There's helicopters everywhere.
There's like this, I guess, what's Mia Goth, Maxine, what's in her head?
Yes. This was a little hard to figure out until I thought about more, but because she's holding a shotgun to her dad's head, the helicopters are saying, "Drop the weapon, we have you surrounded." And then she goes into like a daydream of what would happen
if she was on the red carpet of the Puritan.
Well, I think if she survives this and was responsible for catching him, and first she's on a talk show, and they're like, "You brought down a serial killer who happened to be your dad, and you're a famous star, the Puritan." And then she's on the red carpet, and then she's talking about how the director wants to make her life story into a movie, and it's like everything's going her way.
The red carpet, they played this song called Shell Shock from Pretty in Pink. I loved it.
Totally
I was
didn't
like,
know.
I knew.
But they did play St. Elmo's Fire in this from 85. They did play that,
which I was like, oh gosh, this is probably so expensive. But then I thought to myself, no, Tim, these songs are 40 years old. They're probably like on clearance.
Oh my God, of course. So after she has this daydream of, I guess, her ideal life, comes back to her with the gun, and she has like one line with her dad, and she's like, Dad, you help me get divine intervention or something. And she also says I won't accept a life I don't deserve. And then she shoots him in the head, and it's like
the most graphic.
The head explodes like a watermelon, like Halloween 2018 when the doctor gets stomped.
It's very effective. I think the whole audience was pretty grossed out.
Oh, I mean, his head just explodes. And now I do have to ask you something. If there are helicopters and cops all around and they say drop the weapon and then you shoot it anyway, wouldn't they have shot her?
I totally agree with you.
You know what I mean? Cops don't let you shoot a weapon after, even if you are the good guy, if they've said drop the weapon.
But that's the thing. I really, really wanted her to have an actual talking scene with her dad, and that didn't happen.
I did want a little more,
then a scene with the two cops, that didn't happen.
I wanted her to say, like, Dad, you did this to me, or like, I just wanted something a little more heartfelt. All we got was the dad being over the top and then her being tied to a tree.
Right, like, there was zero, and like, I understand Maxine is a badass, and she probably wouldn't have any emotion, but I was like, I'm gonna need some emotion.
She did have no emotion to killing her dad. I mean, I guess she was so estranged, but still. But anyway, she kills the dad, and then we switch to reality, and it's like the first day of shooting The Puritan 2. It's kind of funny because
they give a moment of silence.
They have a moment of silence for the actress from the first Puritan who's dead, and then they just kind of go on. And
did you see Hitchcock?
Oh, yes. She
looks
kind of
reminded
like
me of that.
Janet Leigh in Psycho. Like, she has the short blonde wig or hairstyle. She has a light blue dress, like very
gorgeous.
1960s. She looked good. But the ending is, she's about to start. The director's like, now you can focus on the movie, because she wasn't focusing before because her dad was trying to kill her. But then it's a very odd ending scene.
They're like,
because
look at this head that's on a bed.
It's a head cast of her. It looks like a decapitated head. It's on a bed, and they're filming it, and she's just looking at it, like admiring it, and then the credits roll.
Well, before that, she's doing cocaine, and they're like, they knock on the door, and she does her famous line. She goes,
I'm a fucking movie star. Yeah. Well, what's funny is I only noticed because we just watched X, but in X she said, I'm a fucking sex symbol, and this one it's I'm a fucking star. So she's upped it a little.
Is it fucking movie star or fucking star?
I thought it was movie star, but maybe she's a star.
But
I don't know.
You know what? She didn't even try to hide the cocaine.
But wasn't she doing it with an $100 bill this time? Because that means she's stepping it up.
She threw it in her purse. I was like, oh.
She's like, ooh, give me that money. But the credits were rolling as it's just the camera's holding on this decapitated like head cast of her, and the credits are rolling. But if you remember the ending of Pearl, when she's just doing that ridiculous smile through the whole credits, it kind of reminded me of like, it's just so crazy. You know?
Like it's insane. And I think that's what you're supposed to take away from that. Like Hollywood's crazy, Mia Goth's crazy, everything's crazy.
It is like Hollywood is crazy. This whole journey of hers is crazy.
Oh, by the way,
she's a little crazy.
One thing that we didn't bring up, but remember back in 1984, they were like picketing for Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yes, and because there were a lot of picketers picketing horror movies in this one. So that was true to life.
That was a nice little touch.
So all in all, I'll start and tell you my thoughts on it, because here's the thing. I enjoyed it. I definitely enjoyed it. I will watch this again. We'll probably own it like we own X and Pearl. I thought it was the weakest of the three, and this is why. For the first half of the movie, I just felt like we were just following Maxine from place to place to place. And then there were these, like you said, random disconnected scenes and random disconnected murders. And I was just like, okay, what's going on? What am I supposed to think? Is this about what happened in X? Is this about the Night Stalker? Is this about her friends? A lot of different things going on at once. And I also felt like there wasn't as much of a cohesive story. Like X, it's very simple. Group of people are going to form a porn movie. They happen to be in the farmhouse next to two old people who always wanted stardom and youth, and they see them, get jealous, start killing them. Great. Simple story. Loved it. Creepy, everything. There was so much going on with this and so many different things. It just felt a little all over the place for me. And I also felt, like you said, I thought Mia Goth, I think she's great, amazing. I didn't think she had as much to do in this movie as X and Pearl.
I'd be very curious to see what was added on or what was taken out, because if they didn't have that solid audition right at the beginning, it would have been like,
she didn't have a lot.
Who's this girl?
I also, and this is one thing I was asking my friends Tim and Jacob and everything after we saw it, I was like, part of me felt like, was this movie necessary? And this is why I say that, because I just thought X's ending was so like genius. Like she kills these old people and then she's like I'm a fucking star, and she drives away and she's going to pursue that. And I felt like that was kind of like a good ending to her story. Because then in this one, it just felt weird. It's like, okay, now her dad's hunting her down in Hollywood and killing everyone related to Hollywood. And I just almost felt like maybe we didn't need this aspect of her story, or maybe it should have been someone else's story. Well, I don't know. It just felt weird.
I agree with everything you just said. So my little wrap up is, I love that it was 1985. I loved the music. The moment. I can't stop doing that.
Eminem.
And so I appreciate all that so much, and I love the look of the film, and I love the trailer. So when I went into the movie, I thought it would be grittier or sleazier. And you know me, I'm not looking for grittier or sleazier.
I mean, because you're gritty and sleazy.
Right. Yeah. I live that life. I don't need to see it.
Exactly. You see it every day.
Right. I wanted to, I guess, okay, so it's supposed to be 6 years later. So what has she been doing for the past 6 years? Doing the peep shows and the porn?
I think she probably left Texas after what happened to X because she didn't want to be near it, and moved to Hollywood because everyone who wants to be a star moves to Hollywood.
Did you? And we saw them. I don't know. Actually, I don't know if you've seen this. Starry Eyes.
Yeah. Okay. I watch it with you.
Oh, okay. So I actually thought Starry Eyes did it better. Like I thought that
Hollywood
movie,
journey.
Yes, that Hollywood journey better. This movie was just stylized and bigger, and I mean, it's awesome. They got Kevin Bacon, they got the Psycho House.
I mean, they got an amazing cast, and like you said, they captured the 80s in LA really well. They captured the time, the look, the music, everything.
I just wanted the story to be like the stakes were higher.
I just think there wasn't as much going. Like, I almost felt like this was a new chapter just for the sake of doing a new chapter. Like, I understand why Pearl was done, because we wanted to know, where did that crazy old woman come from? So it made sense to do Pearl, the prequel. But a sequel to X that had nothing to do with X wasn't necessary.
And steal a page from like Kevin Williamson's Scream 3 and like have everyone be a suspect, because I was like, what if it's the woman director at the end, and like she wants, I don't know what her motive would be, but like it could be anybody, but for some reason the movie at the ending, it's just so chaotic that I was like, okay, I enjoyed it just because it was insane, but I almost wanted it to be grounded a little bit.
Do you know what Jacob and I were talking about this, what I actually was expecting to happen in the movie, and now I kind of wish that it did. I thought, because if they really wanted this to be connected to X and Pearl, what do Maxine and Pearl have in common? They will do anything to be a star.
I'm a star!
Well, Pearl will kill and murder. That's what she did. Maxine just was, left her religion, just was doing porn, everything.
Did you ever think that Maxine was the killer?
Yes, this is what I'm trying to say. Okay, I thought it was going to come full circle because Maxine was going to be so fame hungry that she was going to start killing anybody involved with her, like auditioning against her or, her competition in anything, because she was so fame hungry. And then she would full circle become like the Pearl character. That's what I thought this movie was going to be, and it totally wasn't. And I guess it's because Ty West didn't want Maxine to be a villain, but it's not like she's the most likable heroine.
Right. I mean, I liked her. I really did like her.
She's sort of a badass, but she's not the nicest person. She's not the most caring person. She's not like the smart, resourceful final girl.
When that actress was saying like, hey, I'm going into Party in Hills, she's like, that's her cue to be like, oh, no, wait, girl.
Yeah, or how about when the FBI agents are like, we need your help to prevent the murder. Nah. Yeah. Like she just isn't, she's not your typical final girl. And I get it. That's why people probably like her. But I guess that's what I thought was going to happen. I was like, ooh, this is how they'll connect it. She's going to become Pearl and be fame hungry and murderous. Yeah. And then they didn't, and then she wasn't, and then it was her dad, and I was like, okay.
For all the hype in the trailer and the coolness and like the big, I mean, if you live in Los Angeles, there's all these billboards that say like Maxine.
I mean, because it's the third movie in what has become a really successful, not so much from a financial point of view, because I know it hasn't made huge amounts of money, but from a word of mouth and just, people loving X and Pearl, it's been so big that we've been waiting for this flashy third movie. It's the 80s. Everyone loves the 80s. So it had a ton of hype.
And I think, we went with a group and we all sat down. We're like, and we're going to get our minds blown.
We're victims of the hype too, because I remember when I went to X, I remember barely even knowing what it was about. That's probably why I was so impressed. And Pearl, I knew what it was going to be about, but I was just astounded by how crazy Mia Goth was in it and impressed.
Right. I think
so. This movie, it didn't live up to what I was expecting.
When you have a performance like Pearl, and then you get kind of her being like, yes, no, and like in Maxine, you're kind of like, well, who am I watching?
Yeah, it was It was underwhelming, but only because we had high expectations. Look, I think if you like X and Pearl, you're gonna like this movie.
Right. And again,
I just don't think you're gonna like it the most.
I don't want anyone to think that I didn't like it. I did like it.
I enjoyed it, I'll say.
Yeah, it just, and I don't want to say it fell flat, because it didn't. I was still totally entertained.
How do you rate them between X, Pearl, and Maxine? 1, 2, 3.
Pearl, I liked because of Mia Goth's awesome performance.
Yeah.
X I like because that's like McDonald's to me. I like it's very familiar.
Yeah.
And
but which one do you like the best? I'm putting you on the spot. You got to answer.
Oh God. Okay. I guess I like Maxine the best, even after we just settled that. I know. Because 1985, I like the time period. I can't.
My mind is blown because you literally. Okay. Wow.
Well,
okay.
because like the other stuff is like familiar to me.
Well, I mean, I love X is my favorite by far because of that. It felt like vibes of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I know. I feel like I just contradicted myself.
That was so contradictory. But, hey, look, say whatever you want. If you feel that way, you feel that way.
I like style over substance.
Apparently. No. Pearl second for me, Maxine third. Again, love the style, yes, but like the story for me is everything. And also the atmosphere. And yes, it got the 80s atmosphere, but it didn't creep me out. Like X had a lot of creepy stuff. Pearl was creepy because of her character. Maxine wasn't very creepy. It was just like, it's a lot of cocaine.
No, that's the thing. Pearl was so wackadoo. You're watching someone downward spiral, and then the X was so like gross because like she's in the bed and there's like an old lady like creeping up on her. Like those things are very, very memorable. And I guess what I'm trying to say, and I haven't been successful saying it throughout this whole podcast, it didn't have those. Yeah, someone's head was blown off. Yes, but
those horror elements.
Yeah, like it was missing something.
No, I get that. And I think a lot of it is about the story, like unfortunately. But with that said, I do think that people should see Maxine, finish off the trilogy. I'm not sure if they'll ever do another movie. I could see maybe like 10 years in the future, Maxine's now like a big movie star, but something happens. Maybe she's, there's some competition and then, I don't know.
Like
or maybe we don't want another movie.
She has like a gay assistant and he tries to kill her.
And you play the assistant. Or maybe she goes like on a podcast. These two gay guys are interviewing her and then she gets jealous of them because they're so amazing.
She slits their throats.
That's what I think. You hear that, Ty West? Because he's a big listener.
Well, the thing about Ty West, I read that he edited the film by himself, which is
he does that with all of his films. That's like his thing.
Did you like House of the Devil?
Yes, I loved House of the Devil. House of the Devil was another movie he did, which was great. Look, he's phenomenal as a writer-director. I just don't think this was his strongest entry.
Right. Like, I feel like House of the Devil was a slow burn. And I think when you have got a stylish, like, trailer like they did for Maxine, you thought you were going to be, like, loaded with, like, yeah. And then it was just kind of like, nah.
I think we should end on that. I'm going to sum this up. Tim wanted it to be loaded with yeah, but it was kind of more like nah. Right. There it is, everyone. Happy Hard Times review of Maxine. What if how they do quotes in movies? Look, wanted it to be loaded with yeah, but it was filled with nah. Happy Hard Time.
Right.
Okay.
If I got a quote on any of Ty West's VHS boxes.
Yeah, but I don't know if they'd use that one. They would use like, Ty West is phenomenal.
Right. Okay, here, I'll get one.
Okay,
Ready?
go.
Ty West amazed me, 1985.
1985. Love. Style over substance, everyone.
That's my quote.
Okay, well, thank you all for listening.
Have a wonderful evening.
Bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Happy Horror Time.
If you'd like to support the podcast, please sign up to be a patron at www.patreon.com/happyhorrortime. As a patron, you get access to all our bonus content, which now includes 2 new bonus episodes every month, a monthly after show mini episode, access to our Discord community so you can chat with us directly, and the chance to review a film with us in one of our bonus episodes.
Patrons also get all our regular episodes ad-free and a day early, our monthly newsletter, the chance to vote in polls, and autographed Happy Horror Time stickers.
I'm Matt Emmert.
And I'm Tim Murdoch.
And we hope you have a happy horror time.